Good afternoon. I want to welcome you to this webinar focusing on the process and practices for using the Small Rural Frozen Base Incentive Program through the Public Housing Operating Fund. I am Charles Marshall, the Director of the Energy Branch in the Financial Management Division of the Office of Public Housing Programs. The program that we're talking about today freezes the public housing agency's rolling base consumption level for up to 20 years, which allows the PHA to save 100% on any savings from energy and water conservation measures performed during this period. And we stress that the PHA can maximize its benefit by performing energy and water conservation measures during these periods. Today, this webinar will talk about some ways to do that, and we encourage you to take notes. If you have questions, please ask questions. And most of all, we just want to thank you for taking time to participate in this webinar that will lead to hopefully some great outcomes. It will be led today first by Alexis Pelosi, the advisor on climate to the Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and Matt Pesci with Facility Strategies Group. So with that, I want to turn it over to Alexis, and thank you for attending today.
Great. Thank you so much, Charles. As Charles said, my name's Alexis Pelosi, and I'm the Senior Advisor for Climate in the Office of the Secretary here at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. I'm excited to be here today to talk about the training series for small rural housing authorities, and specifically about HUD's new program, the Small Rural Frozen Rolling Base, which is designed specifically for small and rural housing authorities. As Charles mentioned, the program helps invest in properties to reduce energy usage and emissions, to generate cost savings, help access or unlock funding for other property investments. Right now, it's also a very exciting time to be thinking about the energy and water usage of your property. There are billions of dollars in funding for investments in energy efficiency, climate resilience, renewable energy, and much more. This funding can be a critical tool to improve affordable and public housing through strategic investments in emission reductions. Funding is coming from the Inflation Reduction Act, bipartisan infrastructure law, and elsewhere, including locally through your state energy office or utility provider, and public housing authorities are eligible users for various resources. Next slide. HUD knows what a tremendous opportunity this is, which is why over the past year, we've been building out a suite of resources for HUD program participants on key topics, our Build for the Future capacity building effort. Next slide. As part of that, we have created information sheets and a funding navigator where HUD program participants can search by user, project type, and other factors to see what funding may be available for work being considered. The funding navigator includes opportunities across the entire federal government, not just HUD, and is updated weekly. You can access a funding navigator via the QR code on the screen or by visiting www.hud.gov/climate. Next slide. We've also created other resources, such as a climate resources for housing supply, and will soon be releasing topical handouts with more specific information on various topics. I want to thank you so much for joining this webinar and learning more about the Small Rural Frozen Rolling Base program. Programs like this are critical to helping us meet our emissions reductions goals and vital to helping you unlock resources through cost savings and help access new funding for property investments. Acting today is important, and HUD program staff can help answer any questions you may have. And I'll now turn it over to Matt Pesci at Facility Strategies Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexa. I'm Matt PC, Facility Strategies Group. We're going to talk about Small Rural Frozen Rolling Base program. First, what is it? The program we're going to cover are the requirements for bringing projects into the Small Rural Frozen Rolling Base programs, the advantages of using the program, and work through an example of how you might use the program for your agency. The session will also provide resources and information for further study. So our objectives today are, after taking this vignette, participants will understand The requirements for participating in the small rural frozen rolling base program, including eligibility, the utility types, sources of data, and other factors. Agencies will also gain information on how the program can be used, what is involved in calculating a utility baseline, including allowed adjustments to that baseline, and the kinds of capital and maintenance projects that can generate savings that may be captured under the program for the Housing Authority's benefit. The rules for the program, they start with statute, which provides the basic framework that allows small rural agencies to freeze the utility baselines and provides information on certain adjustments that are specifically identified. With this statutory authority, the program fits within the existing operating fund rules at 24 CFR 990, so no regulatory changes were required. The program is managed through a series of PHA policy notices. Some of the key notices that you'll see are 2022-32. This notice is the final word on the SR-FRB program. There are a number of prior notices that are worth reviewing to understand the progression of the program, including 2020-30, 2021-17, and 2021-30. But these are no longer policy. So you may see them along the way and just know that the final process is defined in 2022-32. In addition, there are also several operating fund notices that include information on how to implement the small rural frozen rolling base program, including PIH 2021-24. Because SR-FRB is executed within the OPSUB framework, these additional policy sources are also important to review. Remember also that just applying for the small rural frozen rolling base program within the OPSUB portal isn't typically enough to provide benefit to the PHA. Agencies will garner the most benefits from the program by planning capital projects, maintenance, repairs, and operations improvements that will then generate the savings through the program. One thing I didn't mention on the front end, if you guys have any questions throughout, you can send them in the chat and we'll work to answer those. If you have technology issues or issues with Zoom, send those as well, and we'll try to give you a hand as best we can remotely. So eligible participants. This program is applicable only to public housing authorities and only to those that are defined as both small and rural and having 550 or fewer aggregate dwelling units in both their public housing and housing choice voucher program. To be a rural agency, to be rural, an agency must be in a rural county or in a rural census block. HUD maintains a list of agencies that are considered both small and rural, streamlining the process for determining if an agency is eligible. So the website on the slide will get you to an Excel sheet that will allow you to check your status pretty quickly. PHAs cannot participate in both an energy performance contract and a small rural frozen base program at the same project in the same year. These programs share some of the same features, including freezing utility baselines. Entering the program. The deadline to apply is an agency's operating subsidy deadline each year. And the baselines would be frozen for the upcoming budget year, January 1 to December 31st. The frozen baselines will be the 3 rolling baseline years included in the form HUD 52722 that is included in the agency's OPSUB request. The PHAs that choose to participate in the SR-FRB program must notify HUD of their election no later than the SR-FRB notification date. This notification date will be published annually in the Operating Subsidy Process Notice and on the PHA Operating Subsidy Grant Calendar. PHAs apply through the OpSub portal. Any single project or AMP may have one or more utilities frozen for up to 20 years. Each project is treated independently of each other project. Exiting the program. To exit the SR-FRB, the Housing Authority would follow the same process as it used to apply, except they would deselect the AMPs. Once an election to participate has been made with the agency's OpSub submission, they cannot leave the program until the following year and would also not be able to re-enter the program for that project for 4 years. The utility baselines are in the agency's 52722. The rolling base values are in lines 2 to 4, as you can see in this slide. So this is a sample form HUD 52722. And you can see on the left in the blue box, the fields where utility data is shown. And then the columns are for different fuels that are authority paid. Utility baselines. So baselines are determined for each project, including the SR-FRB, included in the SR-FRB, and are independent of each other. It should be noted that the program does not include resident-paid utilities. In some parts of the country, where utilities are more commonly resident-paid, the SR-FRB will only apply to those utilities that are master metered and authority paid. That means that the Housing Authority pays the utility bills. In nearly all areas of the country, water is master metered per building or per development. There are some situations where water meters are resident paid, but it is not common. Utilities that are on a flat rate and therefore do not have consumption are expected to be separated from the volumetric utilities, since this cost is not affected by capital projects, operations, or maintenance. In addition, trash removal services are not eligible for SR-FRB because these costs are funded as a component to the project expense level in the OpSub request. Baseline adjustments. Before freezing the rolling base consumption level, the Housing Authority will want to review their baseline data. Factors that should be investigated include incomplete data, usage anomalies, meter-related issues, warmer than normal weather, changes in housing inventories, changes in billing responsibilities, and changes in fuel sources. Incomplete data is a common issue. Depending on when the utility bill is read and when the bill is mailed, some years could have 11 months of usage and others have 13 months. Given that the 3 years are frozen, they must not have an incorrect number of months. Missing one bill in 12, assuming all the bills had the same value, would affect the baseline year by about 8%. Usage anomalies can be complicated, but can greatly affect savings and costs once the baseline is frozen. One-time spikes or usage trending higher can be an indication of underground water leaks, or can be an indication of usage creep, which is a more common concern for electricity. Meter-related issues must also be considered. Utilities monitor and manage their distribution assets, including their meters. And when a meter is found to not be operating or operating incorrectly, they will replace them. If a current meter that has been reading low, for example, is replaced by the utility, the new meter will read higher and cause savings to decrease or even disappear. For heating related utilities, if the heating degree days for the years that would be frozen are significantly lower than normal, the housing authority can ask for an adjustment. HUD requires this calculation to be done by a licensed professional engineer. Changes in housing inventories may occur for agencies with properties that are in transition or where properties are being converted to Section 8 through RAD or PAC processes. Changes in billing responsibilities directly affect what utilities are available to the SR-FRB. Sometimes housing authorities are individually metered for utilities, but instead of having the resident pay the bills, the agency pays the bills. This is common for heating bills. Having the authority pay the bills makes the utilities eligible for the SR-FRB. If the agency moves from authority paid to resident paid, these bills need to be moved out of the SR-FRB if baselines are frozen for this fuel. Alternately, if the agency moves from resident paid to authority paid, this offers an opportunity to have this utility added to the SR-FRB. In some cases, particularly considering the new IRA funding for electrification and heat pump technology, traditional heating and domestic hot water equipment using natural gas will be replaced by electricity. If these conversions are for master metered utilities, these utilities can be converted from BTUs to equivalent kilowatt hours before the conversion. If the agency has an existing SR-FRB on the affected utilities, they must be corrected. Adjustments may be requested from HUD for all of these issues at the beginning and during the frozen baseline period. So what are some of the benefits to the SR-FRB program? So small rural frozen rolling base offers the opportunity for an agency to capture, retain, and use savings generated by capital repairs, operations, and maintenance efforts. These savings can be used for any eligible expenses, including capital projects. Savings can optionally be used for financing, but financing is not required under the SR-FRB program. Planning to use the program. The SR-FRB program is centered around projects or AMPs and their authority paid utilities. To make the most of this program, the housing authority will need to look at conditions today, what work has been done and systems that have been replaced in the last 5 to 10 years, and what equipment is on the verge of replacement in the next 5 to 10 years. If a site is destined to be flipped out of the public housing program through RAD or Section 18, this must also be considered in planning how best to use the program. To do planning and project development, the housing authority will need sources of information. Important sources include utility benchmarking. This is the process of determining which properties use the most energy and water, and how do these costs correlate to building systems, equipment, condition, age, and fuels. Housing authorities will need an energy audit. Ideally, the housing agency has a comprehensive level 2 energy audit already in place to use for planning. A free audit from the local utility or a limited audit completed with a physical needs assessment will not have the required data and analysis. Physical needs assessments, a PHA, will provide ages and conditions of building infrastructure, systems, and equipment. Feasibility studies, maybe a manufacturer or service company, utility company, or other vendors have stopped by and discuss some of their programs. And in many cases, they will analyze single systems in a study for information. These can be helpful to inform the planning process. Energy audits, however, are critical for uncovering operational equipment improvement opportunities that will save energy, reduce energy costs, and improve building performance. They assist building managers and owners to determine where, when, why, and how energy is used in your buildings, and identify opportunities to improve efficiency, carbon reduction, electrification, and sustainability. In addition, when targeted to specific scopes of work, an energy audit can also be used to assess electric capacity requirements and evaluate energy infrastructure, which may be required to take advantage of the new Inflation Reduction Act funding sources and other state and local sources that might be available. An energy audit begins with the review of historical and current utility data and benchmarking of your building's energy use against similar buildings. ASHRAE defines 3 levels of energy audit. ASHRAE stands for the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. There are 3 levels. ASHRAE Level 1 is a simple audit that involves a walkthrough of your buildings or a phone-based assessment, review of utility bills, and a discussion of physical needs, operating data, and may include interviews with operations staff. An ASHRAE Level 2 audit identifies and provides savings and cost estimates for all practical measures. A Level 2 or Level 3 energy audit would be required for SR-FRB. Getting this type of audit done will allow the agency to meet its HUD 5-year audit requirement, and will also get a study completed to be used with SR-FRB. ASHRAE Level 3 audits are referred to as whole building computer simulations, and they're typically done for more complicated measures using a computer program to more accurately calculate the interactions between the building and different equipment options. Each building system has potential opportunities to create savings through capital projects and through operations and maintenance. Common building systems and repairs would include heating, which would be conversions to more efficient equipment, such as condensing furnaces or heat pumps, cooling, replacing window AC units with DX air conditioning systems, domestic hot water, converting standard efficiency tank type systems with condensing, direct fired, condensing tankless, or heat pump water heaters, controls using temperature limiting controls or central BMS control systems, lighting, replacing existing fixtures and lamps with LED lighting and controls, water, replace the aerators, the shower heads, the water closets, and consider leak detection and submetering. Envelope, upgrade the windows, the doors, insulation, seals, and weather stripping. Appliances, install new efficient refrigerators and stoves, and even including renewables, taking advantage of the new tax credits to consider solar and geothermal systems. Even without an energy audit, a basic knowledge of the age and condition of building systems, coupled with knowing what replacements or changes are possible, can allow an agency to plan future replacements. To benefit from the program is necessary but insufficient to just freeze the baselines. The agency must do capital repairs, operation improvements, and maintenance improvements to create savings to get the full value out of the program. It should be noted that even without an energy audit, knowing the age and equipment of the existing systems, being aware of deferred maintenance of these systems, and knowing what replacements or changes to existing equipment are possible will allow your agency to plan and integrate SR-FRB into future redevelopment planning and other needed infrastructure improvements. And using this information, an energy audit can be developed, providing the costs, the savings necessary to establish your baselines and potential retrofits. So earlier I mentioned energy performance contracting. So what is the difference between small rural frozen rolling base and energy performance contracting? The energy performance contracting program has been available for 3 decades to finance retrofits from available savings. So why not use the energy performance contracting program, or said differently, why use the SR-FRB program instead? Both programs allow the energy and water baselines to be frozen, but SR-FRB only addresses authority-paid utilities, while the EPC program also allows savings to be captured from resident-paid utilities. SR-FRB allows the PHA to capture 100% of savings to use for eligible public housing expenses, including capital replacements, while the EPC program must apply at least 75% of the frozen baseline savings to project costs, which includes financing costs. As mentioned earlier, SR-FRB does not require a project to be financed. But in some cases, working with their local bank, this could be a useful option, but it's not required. However, the EPC program would require financing. SR-FRB also allows the authority to develop projects without any third parties, while the EPC program requires a third party, licensed engineers or energy services companies, to develop those projects. While it's still a good idea for housing authority to engage in engineers, support their planning for energy and water projects, the SR-FRB in particular it's not mandatory to bring in this outside expertise. So putting some of these ideas side by side, so you can compare which program requires which thing, the key elements of the small rural frozen rolling base program and the EPC programs are shown in this table. Steps to any project are development, applications, financing, if it's applicable, design, construction, and repayment. And repayment being I'm post-construction, I'm either capturing savings to use for debt service if I took out financing, or these would be the accrued savings that are available after the project. SR-FRB allows the agency to develop a program that aligns more closely with its normal capital program and operations practices. So we're going to go through an example. We'll start with the applicant. In this case, Sunnyside Housing Authority, SHA, is considering an SR-FRB program, starting with its Frisbee Towns project. The agency has 100 public housing units and 200 housing choice voucher units, and is in a small rural county. So from that, we know that it's going to be eligible for the SR-FRB program. Their Frisbee Towns property is 40 units, 16 building townhomes, and it has common water, common electricity that's used for site lighting, and other utilities are tenant paid. So summarizing this information into a chart, we see 2 amps, the Sunnyside Homes amp, where the home office resides, and the Frisbee Towns property, which has 16 buildings and 40 units. The lower chart, you can see the mix of utilities. For Frisbee, gas is resident paid. Electric in the apartments is resident paid. Electric for the site and common, so wall-mounted fixtures on the outside of the building or site lighting in the parking lot would be authority paid. And then the water and sewer is authority paid in the apartments. So by building system, we would want to look at the type of equipment that the property has. So here's some key information listed in this table for the property. For heating, we're seeing standard efficiency gas furnaces and attic ductwork, furnaces near the end of life. We're seeing that the water equipment has been replaced through routine maintenance, but otherwise the equipment is original. In-unit lighting is a mix of technologies, while site lighting is delivered with metal halide lamps. So before considering an SR-FRB, the Housing Authority should start collecting this type of information on its buildings, existing equipment, and utility systems. So SHA is planning a capital project at Frisbee Homes where they will renovate the kitchens and baths, including cabinets, flooring, bath surrounds, and water and lighting fixtures, and plan site improvements, including new site lighting. A recent energy audit recommends SHA show that SHA complete in-unit water fixture replacement and site lighting replacement, both of which have older technology. The audit estimates savings for the upgrades to be approximately 35% reduction in water for new plumbing fixtures and approximately a 10% reduction in electricity for new kitchen and bath lighting fixtures and about a 60% reduction in electricity for new site lighting. Plumbing fixtures directly affect authority paid water. Only site lighting improvements affect authority paid electricity. The in-unit lighting is resident paid, so cannot be captured by the SR-FRB program. But it could potentially be captured as part of an EPC program. So as part of analysis and deciding which program could provide the greatest value to the agency, you would want to look at both options. For utilities, a portion of the agency's 2024 Form 52722 is provided on the left panel of the slide, showing annual totals. All right, 52722 provides the annual aggregate consumption costs for the agency. On the right side, we're showing a time trend over multiple years. Annual data alone does not provide enough information to confirm the data quality and see if there's an issue occurring in utility usage. From the trends on the right, we can see that there's a slight reduction over time occurring in both water and electric use. This could be due to replacements of new fixtures over time as they have failed and need to be repaired or replaced. Note too that the water use starts the 4-year period higher, than dropping and then spiking again. This could be the utility company making estimated reads and then correcting them, or it may be due to the condition of underground water lines that were repaired. This will require some due diligence. The executive director will want to have discussions with accounting and maintenance and make sure there are no unexpected conditions that may affect freezing the utility basins. Savings can be estimated from the audit or a combination of sources, such as using the average rates and the most recent 52722, in this case for 2024, with consumption savings estimates with an audit or hand calculation. If this information is not available or is out of date, again, this is an opportunity to do your 5-year energy audit and also to use this audit to plan and implement your SR-FRB program. According to our data in the slide, the 52722 average rates for water and common electric are $6 per CCF of water, that's 100 cubic feet, and 18 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity. Using the percentage consumption savings provided in the audit and the annual utility consumption from the 52722, and then applying average utility rates, water and electric savings may be captured by the SR-FRB, would be $2,380 per year and $1,835 per year, respectively. Learning about the program and talking to key staff, the executive director decided the savings were a good opportunity and decided to dig deeper into the SR-FRB program. Using SR-FRB was an easy choice for Frisbee Town. Funding is already lined up for the capital project, an audit was available, and the agency could make some savings estimates. Less easy is deciding whether financing adds to the project. For small projects like this, the financing would come from a local bank. Regional and national firms would not offer such a small loan. If the loan is secured by equipment installed, an additional step would be required to review the loan obligations, so this adds work and time. But a small loan is not likely to be non-collateralized. That means not secured using the equipment installed. Some people might be thinking that $4,215 per year is not a lot. That's true, but it does buy parts and buys fuel for vehicles. The amount is based on this simple example with one property of 40 dwelling units. But depending on where your agency is located, your water rates might be higher, certainly along the coast. Or you may have master metered gas and electricity, at which point additional savings sources and higher savings amounts might accrue. So moving forward with SR-FRB, an additional consideration is whether a full EPC program offers enough benefits to offset its added complexity. Using the SHA example above as a sounding board, adding in-unit lighting replacements and savings from any other planned work, such as heating replacements or domestic hot water replacements, could make EPC a more attractive option. In addition, financing would be required, and a more detailed package would be required for HUD approval. Separately, the agency would want to consider whether any projects planned for Sunnyside homes suggests it should be added to the SR-FRB program, or whether it tips the scales towards full EPC. The Sunnyside site will have its own unique set of opportunities and capital replacement needs. So we'll need sources of so the agency would need sources of information to allow objective analysis. Replacing building systems and equipment, improving energy and water infrastructure lead to lower operating and maintenance costs. The SR-FRB program allows housing authorities to capture and retain these savings that they would create just by doing these common management tasks. SR-FRB is simpler to use than HUD's EPC program. It does not require financing to be used, even though it's an option, and has less of the required documentation while retaining most of the benefits. SR-FRB allows funding sources to be used to develop projects without concern for their source. Savings generated from prior SR-FRB retrofits can also be retained and used to fund the next phase of retrofits and repairs. SR-FRB freezes baselines before they are reduced through retrofits and repairs. If the agency later converts to Section 8 through RAD, rents will be calculated using the higher frozen utility costs. Obtaining assistance. So reach out to your state energy and EPA offices about their new IRA sources, as well as other existing funding programs and grants. Reach out to HUD, the local office, using small rural frozen rolling base program, and get a good energy audit prepared. Consider working with an energy consultant who specializes in energy project development. These costs are often eligible for funding under utility programs or through the IRA funding program, and is also eligible as a capital project cost. A list of available resources to support our discussions here today and further research by your agency. You'll see the specific public law that governs the program, various PIH program notices, as well as program guidance, the IRA Navigator that was discussed early in the program, as well as other training videos that are potentially available. All right, so let's do a knowledge check. So what I'd like is I'll read the question, and if you guys through chat give me your true or false answer, then I'll kind of let everybody know what the majority answer looks to be, and then I'll get to the correct answer. The first question, true or false, a public housing authority is eligible to participate in small rural frozen rolling base if their combined public housing and Section 8 housing choice voucher units are less than 750 units. And one answer. Anybody else? Okay, I've got 3 false, and that would be correct. Yeah. So the second question, true or false, resident paid utilities are eligible for inclusion in the small rural frozen rolling base. Anyone? Good. So predominant answer is false, and that's correct. Third question, to benefit from the small rural frozen rolling base program, a participating agency must complete energy and water related retrofits. Any responses to that? True or false? It looks like the predominant answer for that one was true. And that's important here. We talked about it a few times throughout. You can join the program without creating projects that do energy and water retrofits, but you don't get any financial benefit from them. So the benefit of doing the small rural frozen base program is that you're using the fact that the baseline is frozen to do retrofits and repairs and operation improvements that reduce those baselines. So true, the benefit is by doing those types of retrofits. Fourth question, true or false, financing is required to use the SR-FRB. It's the predominant answer was false, and that's correct. You can use it, but you're not required to use it. And then the fifth question, true or false, if a project is removed from the SR-FRB, it can be added back in 4 years. Okay. So the predominant answer is true, and that's correct. So the way the program works, you can add individual projects or individual amps to the program, and then you can pull them out, but they have to stay out for a period of 4 years. So today is the second of the live videos, and you'll be able to get, I believe this is being recorded, and so that will become available on HUD Exchange for folks to watch at a later date. I wanted to say thank you for your attention and commitment and participating. If there's any questions regarding the content or interest in learning more about the SR-FRB program, those can be directed to the Public Housing Energy Branch at this email, PIHEnergybranch@hud.gov. Thank you for your time today.